comment on the issue and or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate and a roll call vote will follow. Number one, approval or amendment of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as printed.
Mr. Chairman, I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as printed. Roll call vote.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Consent agenda. Number two, approve minutes from the regular session of October 27, 2020. Number three, accept annual manure management plan update, Applegate's G&L ID number 59073, received and placed on file with no changes to manure management plan. Number four, accept the annual manure management plan update, Triple E Farm ID number 59073, received and placed on file with no changes to manure management plan. Number five, condemnation compensation commission, 1-year term, owner operators of agricultural property. John Brockman to fulfill the unexpired term of Vertus Brockman. This term will expire 12/31 of 2021. Number six, accept 2020 Weed Commissioners Report. Number seven, approve claims. Approve claims as audited and authorize the county auditor and recorder to issue payment of the same. The listing of claims paid at this meeting and all claims paid in the month of November will be published as part of the first meeting in December. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as printed. Before we do a roll call vote, I would like to thank John Brockman for fulfilling the unexpired term of his dad, Vertus. I think this is a pretty special thing to have happen.
I agree. Had a very nice conversation with him, and I think he was very happy that we requested that he fill his father's term.
I'm so glad that he took it. So
Yeah.
This is a nice thing.
It, as usual, and I've said this several times over the years, anytime we as a board or personally have ever called anybody to serve on one of our commissions or anything that is volunteer and unpaid, I've never, ever had anybody say, I won't do that. We are truly fortunate to have the individuals within our county that are willing to step up and serve. And, you know, my byline, good government requires active participation.
And these are volunteers. They don't get paid.
Nope.
Now, the one thing that we did do is we made available a form that they can fill out so they can take off their mileage and their time taxes. We don't pay them anything.
No,
So it's a great continuation of the way a democratic society is supposed to run, by the people. So
I agree.
anyway.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number eight, approve personnel actions. Hire Mac Twyford, Sheriff's Office Jailer, full-time, rate of pay at $19.41 an hour, effective November 11th, 2020.
And this is to fill in again.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve item number 8 here, to hire Mac Twyfold, Sheriff's Office Jailer, full-time, rate of pay is $19.41 per hour, effective November 11th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to hire Mac Twyford as the jailer, effective November 11th, 2020. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 9, secondary road department equipment purchase. Discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of 2 Volvo VHD 64 F300 tandem truck chassis. Volvo is currently scheduling build dates in August of 2021.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to get this on the agenda because we found out a couple weeks ago that they were already scheduling builds for August. So acting now, we can get a couple chassis on order and probably be able to take delivery in September. And then after they're outfitted, we can get the trucks into service well before winter. We want to make sure we get the new trucks as they come in, get them all outfitted and still have a little while before they have to go into snow service.
It seems like we continuously ordered these trucks almost a year in advance, like we're doing it further and further in advance every year.
Yeah, this is probably the earliest build out date I've ever, the latest build out date I've seen for truck chassis. We are just having excellent experience with the Volvo chassis, and the two that we would be quoting this time would be tandems number 9 and 10 of the Volvo fleet. We'll still have some other, some internationals, but we're slowly getting converted over to a fleet that has all, that just has really good compatibility with they're nearly identical trucks.
How many internationals we got left? We've been on this Volvo bandwagon for about 6-7 years.
Yeah, the earliest Volvos were 2015. There are, I think, 4 international tandems left, and we still have a couple international single axles. Last year's truck purchase was Volvo single axles, which is our first experience with those, but we've got 2 of those coming on for this winter.
Looking into next year's budget, are we going to look at any graders, maintainers?
Yeah, I think we probably will still look at getting one. It's just a matter of we had that, we bought that used M3 12 M3, and we've got pretty good experience with that, and we may possibly even still look at another one of those.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the purchase of 2 Volvo VHD 64F 300 tandem truck chassis. These units will be purchased from Gator Truck Center for $118,397 each, to be paid for from the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Purchase 2 Volvo tandem truck chassis. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Patton,
Yes.
Slosik,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 10, Marshall County Employee Floating Holiday for 2021. Discussion and possible action to set the floating holiday in 2021 for Marshall County employees. Nan, are you wanting to speak to this?
Yes, we kind of looked at the calendar. Mary said this would be very helpful to have this set early, because she's got to set the payroll calendar for all of next year. And doing this at this time would aid us in getting things ready for January 1.
When she made that request, I also asked Lisa to get a hold of the bank and get their.
Well,
when they're gonna
they
be
go
open
on
and closed.
federal holidays.
Right.
So the first one is that January, I don't have the exact date.
Should have been the 15th, Martin Luther King.
Should be, yes. Let me get to.
And do they also close for President's Day?
I bet they do.
So did you get that list from the bank?
Lisa did, and unfortunately, I've got it in an email and I didn't bring it. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me.
When did that come? You remember, Dave?
Would have been last week, about Wednesday or Thursday. And I forwarded on to,
Monday, January 18th is Martin Luther King
Okay.
Day. I knew it was always on a Monday, so that's why I was sitting here thinking the 15th wasn't right. So that's the first federal holiday in 2021 is, of course, New Year's Day. And then the next one is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The reason many times we do Christmas Eve tends to be a day we do other years, but for this next year, December of 2021, Christmas is on Saturday. So we can take the 24th as the Christmas holiday, and kind of covers our Christmas Eve that we've kind of historically used in the past. So we know we'll still be in the bank at that time, so that just seemed like an easy date to choose.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with it either.
It would really be nice if we could cover it and get it where it's the court's holiday, the bank being closed, and us all recognizing the same holiday. Because we've run into several times in the past where we go with a holiday and it doesn't match up with what our court system is doing.
And that's something I do have on our personnel policy, is to change that, because the state does
Yeah.
Martin Luther King versus, I think we do President's Day.
Well, if the state does Martin Luther King, that'll be the court system.
Along with the attorney's office.
Right.
So that would, like you say, if we did it the same, it would make things a little easier. It'd be one less day of security.
Based upon that, that would be our most logical thing, because it's like Nan says, if we match up with the state and then we're closed as a county, we're not having double time paying for courthouse security because the rest of the courthouse is closed, but the attorney's office isn't.
Yes.
And they're holding court.
Good.
Right.
Someday we'll be back in here, so it'll be here.
Someday will be soon.
So, yeah, just with the way Christmas falls this year, it allows us some
Yeah.
flexibility.
How do we want to form a motion like that then? Are we gonna, or
We just need to set the date.
Based on that, I would just simply make the motion that we observe Martin Luther King, January 18th, 2021, as the date for the floating holiday.
okay, I'll second that.
All right. It's been moved and seconded then to have Martin Luther King Day be our floating holiday for this year of 2021. Any other discussion?
No, but I'd sure like to go through and get that on our personnel policy, that we match up with the other calendars.
I've got that in the list, and as soon as we get back in the courthouse, that'll be a group we get back together.
Yep.
Okay.
And probably post-COVID.
Yeah.
It's kind of a group you need to talk face-to-face versus Zoom, but it could be done.
Roll call vote.
Patton,
Yes,
Solosik,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. We have a discussion item. The Des Moines Partnership Broadband Study Presentation. A request from Carlos Jr., Marshall County Economic Development Director for the Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce, for a broadband study presentation. Mike Colwell, a representative from the Des Moines Partnership, will be presenting the broadband study. Do we have you gentlemen this morning? Yes.
Good morning, Mike Caldwell.
Okay. Morning, Mike. Carlos, I see you up in the corner.
Yeah, I'm here.
okay,
Well, you are on, so
Oh, I just wanted to quickly introduce Mike. He's with the Des Moines Partnership, like you said, and he will be presenting on the Regional Broadband Initiative. It's a great work that they're promoting to really deep dive into the community and look at where our gaps are, where our needs are. And so, Mike, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen this morning?
yes.
Great. Well, thank you again for allowing me some time to talk to you. I've been with the partnership for 13 years, and before that I was in the technology industry for 20. And I guess that my background in radio frequency and telecommunications was the reason I got nominated to help run this effort, but it's very near and dear to me. I want to talk to you very briefly this morning, but the issue really gets down to the data that's available to all of us for decision making as it relates to broadband, and especially when we get into the rural areas and into requesting grants or other monies from state, federal, or other entities. Current FCC data is quite skewed, and this slide is just representative of the challenge, showing that the FCC says that Chickasaw County has 100% broadband coverage when Microsoft's own data, which is considered very accurate, shows that only 14.8% of the residents of Chickasaw County even access the internet on broadband. Now, this is outside of cell phones. This is talking broadband in your home. And that really defines the problem. And the reason the study is so different is that when the FCC study was done, they did it by census tract. And if there was one residence or business that had great broadband, then they assumed all residents and businesses in that census area had great broadband, which was a flawed assumption. If you look at the 10 county area that the partnership focuses on and represents, you'll see very similar numbers across the board, where you're looking at anywhere from 79 to 97% availability according to the FCC, yet utilization is highest only in Polk County, and amazingly enough, only 44% in Polk County. We look at Marshall County, 27.6% utilization. And so this really speaks to the challenge we see that's out there, especially that we have been forced to deal with due to COVID. It is worse news for minorities. You can see here that this is a national study, and I do believe it tracks fairly closely with Iowa, but the minorities, Hispanic or Black, are tracking approximately 10% below a white/Hispanic, and so further exacerbating the issue. Some good news that we did receive is that last year, the FCC awarded one of their largest contracts to a company called NextLink, and covered in that contract were areas of coverage across 85 counties in Iowa, including your county. And while this will not be 100% coverage, they have been given funds and are in the process of working to build out or start building out what's called a fixed wireless system. For those of you who dealt with fixed wireless 10 years ago, it was quite poor. One of the good news items is that Microsoft, the philanthropic group, invested a substantial money to upgrade the technology for fixed wireless, and really took it from what I would call marginal to quite strong. And they work with the government, they work with suppliers, and to make sure that everybody has broadband capable. The partnership is working with NextLink now to accelerate their rollout as much as we possibly can. NextLink recently acquired an Iowa company to help with this out of Cushing, Iowa, and they've been actively reaching out across our area to some of the small towns to begin their rollout. Another option that is becoming available to all of us, and this is going to be very important in the truly rural areas, especially when you get into very hilly country. I don't know how much that type of topology you have in Marshall County, but satellite-based internet has been incredibly poor in the past. There's something called latency, which is kind of it's basically the time from when you hit the enter key to something happening. And 20 milliseconds is considered good. Current satellite is 500 milliseconds, meaning you're waiting half a second or more for every interaction on the internet, which is very, very challenging. Forget doing any kind of video calls in that environment. Starlink has been launched. It is a satellite-based system. This is part of the SpaceX. If you're familiar with what's going on with SpaceX, they currently have 800 satellites in orbit. This is a low Earth orbit system, meaning they get very, very good latency. They are in beta test right now across the United States. And what they're seeing is speeds of 10 megabit up and up to 150 megabit down. With very low latency in the 20 to 30 millisecond, which is equivalent to what most people have when they have good broadband in their home. The pricing on this is not low. It's $99 a month, plus a $500 upfront one-time fee to buy the hardware. That sounds expensive, but for some of the people who are trying to run a business in truly rural areas, it's really pretty cheap if they could get good internet. US and Canada coverage this year. The beta is expanding rapidly. We don't know what full production looks like yet, probably early next year. There are a lot of other community initiatives going around our 10 county area, from Google Fiber in West Des Moines to MetroNet in Johnston and Urbandale. Pella, of course, has Pella Fiber. Indianola has their system. And I believe working with MiFi as well. We started the work to do a broadband study in July. We issued an RFP to cover the entire 10 county area. We had 13 companies express an interest and 8 respond. We put together an 18-member committee of backgrounds of people to help go through these RFPs. We had people with technical backgrounds, with health and services background, education background. We had school, oops. Seem to have some music in the background. Are you hearing that as well? Okay, there it goes. Great. So we had a really good diverse committee of people from across both rural and urban areas. 2 finalists were selected. HR Green out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa is our preferred vendor and who we're planning to move forward with. Here's just a quick look at who was on that committee for you to get an idea of the type of people that were involved. And I believe one of the people from, not sure if it was one from your area or not. What we're going to get out of this study is what's called a broadband marketplace. And so we're putting together the study. We're actually getting ready to contract with the agency or with the vendor, excuse me, HR Green. They're going to put together or work with our steering committee. And one of our asks of you today is that the county of Marshall provide or recommend one person to sit on this committee as far as the steering committee goes. They'll be going through an extensive data gathering and analysis. And this is really where the most of the money will be spent. They'll be out surveying and talking to people across the 10 county area, from the urban core of Des Moines to the most rural parts of these 10 county areas. And so not only just looking at what data is available, but more importantly, calling people up and saying, what are you really getting? Because the challenge we all have, and I experienced it personally, I paid for broadband for my daughter to help her out. And I was sold a 10 megabit up and 100 megabit down package, 110. When the installer got to her apartment, he said, well, I can only give you 25 for, because if I give you 110, everybody else in your building won't have any internet. And that's the challenge we all face. And it's, you can talk about why it happens, but it's like so many things, you're promised one, and sometimes what you get isn't the same. So that data collection is critical. And what really the value of all this, and there's much more to go here, but to apply for any kind of grant or other subsidization to further broadband in any of these areas requires great data. And if people are going in with the FCC data, everyone knows it's under question. And so having better data, we believe, is absolutely essential to the 10 county area to get broadband upgrades and to take advantage of any grants that are available or other funding. They'll also be creating a gap analysis and an action plan. So going through this, a lot of different types on the steering committee, and this committee will basically be the point of contact for the vendor and also the point of decision making. So as decisions come up to be taken, the committee will act as the lead of this study. They're going to go through a series of data gatherings from everywhere from paid information we can buy for, if you've ever used speed test on your internet to see how fast you're going. That data is anonymized and sold. And so we can find out quite a bit about what's available for real out there. There'll be community surveys. We'll be actually reaching out and talking to people. We will be looking at not only accessibility, but affordability. We're going to be talking to people about what they can afford, because great internet's great as long as you can afford to pay for it. And if you're paying hundreds of dollars a month, there's a lot of our families that simply can't afford $100 a month or even 50. And then, of course, engaging stakeholders, talking with county, city, local, healthcare, with education providers, human services. All of these people will be part of this study. We'll validate all of this down to the local level, which we've got to talk through. We'll be putting together a gap analysis, and a part of this will be a GIS portal, meaning you'll have access to all of the data for the 10 county area down to the most detailed level, including going down visually on a map to see what's available where. There'll be some work on community planning, so policy templates, what policies need to be put in place, what maybe application grants and funding area, or excuse me, what application and grants you might be able to take advantage of. There'll be provider engagement working with not only to say, here's some challenges in your county, but also here are some vendors that are interested in helping or have a solution that may work for you. And then finally, the analysis piece of what are the benefits on eliminating these gaps. The action plan will include the financial analysis, financing options, structured solutions, meaning vendors and solutions that you can implement either directly or choose a vendor to put in for you, how to mitigate some of the risks that are out there, and develop action plans. And one of the things I really want to emphasize to you, one of our goals is to make sure that there's competition in every segment. So if there is good, strong competition in a market, we know pricing tends to move to a very fair standpoint. When there's a single point of pricing, there's not always the motivation to have the most fair pricing. So that's one of our real goals. Basically, and that ends up with working to eliminate this broadband service gap. So that's really what this comes down to, is trying to eliminate the gap across the entire 10-county area. As an economic development organization, we know it's critical, even more than ever, when businesses are looking at locating. They not only need great broadband in their building, but now they're asking, and they are asking, do you have great broadband in all the homes? Can you prove it? When my employee has to work at home, can they do that? Can they get telehealth? Can their kids be educated? This matters to the companies just as much because they're hearing it from their employees. The project cost is $338,940. Of that, the partnership will be contributing $80,000. The MPO will be contributing $40,000. We asked the state to put money into this. They declined. And we are going through the process now, and this is today's meeting with you, asking all of the counties to provide some funding on a per capita basis. So we're asking each county to appoint, and also to appoint a representative. So final slide, and down to the ask. If you look at it on a population basis for Marshall County, we're asking today for you to consider helping us get this study done for an amount of $10,807. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
Why did the state of Iowa decline to do any funding for you?
What they said is they did not have a funding mechanism available. I think I'll decline to interpret that. What I do know about the state funding that's out there right now, the grants that are out there, is the only thing they're funding is actual build outs of broadband.
How soon will this project start then?
We originally hoped to start in October. We're now looking at very early December to start. The vendor is ready to go now. The minute we have all the money allocated, we're ready to go. We have 4 counties that have said yes already. Polk is also in, although there's some final ticks to go there. And as you can see, there are 135,000 of this. I think we have left to request and receive affirmation on about $50,000 total. So we are very close. Of the 380,000, we're very, very close.
What are the counties that you have funding from?
I'd have to, let me see if I can pull that up. Marion, boy, I'm gonna have to pull it up here. If you can just bear with me for a minute. I don't want to do it from memory. I would feel bad if I was incorrect. So just take a moment and I can give that to you. Okay, the counties that have said yes are Jasper, Madison, Marion, Polk, but they're just finishing the paperwork, so they haven't formally said it, but they've told us. And Warren County have all said yes, leaving Adair, Dallas, Guthrie, yourselves, and Poweshiek. And there's a meeting going on, 2 more meetings going on this week, I believe. David Moss and the vendor are talking to Dallas this morning, and they're talking to Poweshiek on Thursday.
If any of these counties choose not to participate, how will that affect the project then? Could it still go on in some way, or how does that change things?
Yeah, well, it won't be easy, but we will do everything we can to make it go on. We hope all 10 will come in, but of course, there's always that possibility. The fundamental challenge is the actual cost to do Marshall County is not the number I had up there. It's actually quite a bit more. Because we're doing this on a population allocation, it skews towards the funding being heavier in the urban areas. It needs to be heavier in the urban areas because of ability to pay. Let's face it, if we did this just on square footage or square mile, it wouldn't work out. I think there's just one or two counties that we're really worried about. And so while I can't say we can just cover it because I don't know how we do that, we're like most nonprofits, tightening our belts substantially. It would be our intention to find a way to go forward.
So this 218,000 is for the study. The study will take, what, about a year, you think?
No, and so the study is 338,000. If you look at this up at the top, it's just that 120,000 comes in from the partnership and the MPO, leaving 218 for the counties. We hope to have the study wrap up in June or July. That's our goal. So we want to get this done very, very fast. This is critical information.
So looking down the road then and paying for this on a population basis, you're thinking it's going to cost $99 a month per household?
No, not at all. I was only using that as one of the examples. So it will be, that was the Starlink example. We're not going to, the study is not going to dictate or determine who will serve what area. The study will point out all the areas at a detailed level that need additional effort or need additional broadband capability and provide alternatives for vendors. It'll be up to each individual city, county, and other area to make their own decisions on what they roll out. Having said that, the FCC has licensed Starlink for the entire United States. So as that comes available, all of your residents already have that opportunity, if nothing else. And it's really kind of the last choice if you're seriously in an area that no one else can cover. And we're going to have those spots. We're going to have that one person or two people that are in an area that just defies physics to cover. That's when the satellite-based system is going to be really the only opportunity. And I've only brought that up because it's actually quite good news it's even available. That type of service was not even available and is still in beta right now. It wasn't available 6 months ago.
So there's no federal funds on this. I know the federal side of things have been talking about this for years. There's no funds coming from the Fed?
Well, the funds that so far that have been allocated to Iowa are from that NextLink project I mentioned that is going to be doing some work in your county, in Marshall County. They're going to be covering, they're basically been given money to cover certain areas, what was considered by the FCC to be the worst areas, in 85 of the 99 counties of Iowa. The challenge is they've not been given money to cover your entire county. And so part of this analysis will be being able to provide you, look, this is what NextLink's going to do. This is when we think they're going to be there. Here's what the other vendors are doing. Here's the remaining gaps. Here are the vendors willing to fill those gaps. Here are some funding options on how to get the funding to pay those vendors.
See, there's certain areas within Marshall County that use fiber optics, and they have good coverage there. I have to think about this for a while, because if we're going to give money for this, then the people who have fiber optic are saying, why in the heck aren't you giving us some too? And this isn't just black and white. We got to think about this a little bit.
Okay. And I appreciate that. I think it's wonderful that you have that fiber optics there. Sometimes what the study may reveal is what we can do with that vendor to extend or otherwise augment.
Very good. Any other questions then from our side? Okay. Well, Mike, thank you for your presentation, and we'll give this some consideration here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If I could ask, who would I follow up with at the appropriate time?
Steve's our chairman.
Yes, I'd be glad to be your go-to.
Who's
All
driving
right.
that bus? Over.
I'm sorry, Steve.
Beep, beep.
I believe it was Bill.
What, do
All
you
right.
want my you want my email then, Mike? Would that be?
I can get it later. I don't need it right now. I know how to find that.
If we could do that, that'd be great. Okay, very
That sounds
good.
wonderful. Thank you all. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good. We'll move on to number 12, the radio project update. There's been a number of emails passing through our computers here, so on this project. So what can we say at this point?
Well, we have been in contact with Allers and Cooney's, the individual law firm that is overlooking the contract, and they've looked over the contract. They've also come back and given us some suggestions. I had a very nice talk with Kristen on this, Stone, who is the attorney for Allers and Cooney, and she has some concerns about possible conflict of interest and sole source procurement. The reason we've got an issue with conflict of interest is our county attorney is married to the chief officer, Mike Miller of Raycom. So in Aller and Cooney's opinion, whether our county attorney would have any way of influencing this, whether the project goes through or not, has absolutely nothing to do with it. Because of her relationship with Mike, she was concerned about a potential conflict of interest and has suggested that we put part of this out for bid, especially the construction of the tower itself. Anything that is not proprietary information or proprietary property to Raycom. So in other words, Raycom has all of their equipment that would hang off of a tower that the county would be putting up. She suggested that the actual building of the tower itself go out for bid so that we meet the public threshold for spending money and going out for bid rather than single source procurement, which is what was suggested from day one, where we just automatically just went with Raycom. So she suggested that we protect ourselves with there to not get in trouble with Iowa Code and Chapter 26. And that was on the civil work for the picking of the site, the requirements of the site, and the construction of the tower itself. As far as the radios would go, or any of the pagers, didn't have any real problem with that, because that is something that is kind of strictly in Raycom's wheelhouse. She did have some suggestions as far as still going out for some bid on that. And that's yet to be decided, but this is something we definitely need to take a look at. I know when we first started out this project, both Bill and myself had some questions as to whether we needed to go out for bid on this, and we were told no, that we didn't have to, and the attorney definitely thinks we should. So that may be an avenue we're going to have to proceed here. But if we're going to do this, because we've made the commitment to build these towers, I think we need to get together with Raycom, get the spec sheets brought up to date, exactly what the engineering requirements are going to be on this tower, get them done, get this out to bid, get the bids in, approve one, and get the project moving.
Should we try to get with Raycom here in the next few days then?
I would recommend that we all get on the same page and ask Raycom to put together a specification sheet on this so that it can go out for a request for proposal for bidding.
Okay. All right.
This is not a deal breaker. This is
No.
something that our attorneys feel that we need to protect ourselves, being a government entity.
Okay.
And,
Does it need to be all three of us, or should one of us take the lead on this?
I don't think it'll make any difference. One is fine. You know, you've had
Okay.
quite a bit of interaction with Mike Miller and Diana Richardson from Raycom already. This is kind of one of the things you've taken on
Okay.
and have worked with it. And
I'll go ahead
You know.
and set something up then.
I would say, yeah.
All right. Very good. Try to do it this
Hey
week.
guys, can I ask a question? Hey, it's Rhonda. I just had a quick question. So obviously, you know, Iowa works different, but in my experience going out for bid and doing that, how long does that, is there a projected of how long that's going to delay the project? Because when we did RFPs for out to bid, that was a 6 to 9 month ordeal. So I was just curious if that was maybe something that was discussed, or if people are ready for it.
You can do an emergency RFP also, so there is an expedited RFP.
Okay.
I
I think our
don't,
main,
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's something that the county has looked at or not, but I would definitely do it on that case basis instead of waiting for a full length one.
Is that something
and I think
that's possible?
I would think would be, yes. I think right now we're just trying to figure out a way that we can officially sign this contract with Raycom.
Right.
And on the same page. So I don't think it would extend the length of the project very much.
I think without question, we want this project done. We want it done as rapidly as possible, but we still need to dot our i's and cross our t's and follow everything within the Iowa code.
Yes, yep.
You know, that's, as supervisors, our duty is to have the fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers and to follow the proper procedures.
and the attorney we're using is been involved in this type of thing for a long time.
Yes.
This isn't something that we grew to an attorney and said, take a look at this. No, this person has been doing this and is here to help us and make sure we keep ourselves out of trouble.
She has worked with several of the other counties that have had this go through within their county. And basically, we would have no trouble at all except for the public bidding, except for the relationship between our county attorney and the head of Raycom.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the concerns she has, and that's why we went to this law firm for our legal opinion, so that we didn't have that conflict of interest by doing it in-house with our attorney and her county attorney and the relationship with Raycom.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get
You know,
that.
it's just, because of that, we're just having to take the extra steps to make sure that there's no perception of any impropriety. We need to protect all the parties, Raycom, our county attorney, and ourselves.
Okay, I will try to do something yet this week then, so.
You know, in today's day and age, I don't want any member of the public to be able to point a finger at us and say, you did a sweetheart deal.
That's right. Okay. Any other discussion? Rhonda, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm good. I appreciate it though.
All right. Thank you, Rhonda. All right. Public forum. It's a time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in the public forum. Anyone have anything they'd like to say?
Absolutely.
Dave, you're on.
It's November 10th, the day before Veterans Day. This is the Marine Corps birthday.
No,
So to all those Marines out there, happy birthday.
very good. That's very nice.
Once a Marine,
Absolutely.
always a Marine.
They never go away.
Yep.
You know, many people find, many parts of the world find it extremely uncomfortable to be surrounded by Marines. I've always found it in my life that it's very comforting.
It should be actually, yes. All right.
This is Kim with Emergency Management. Just a couple of updates. I passed along the mitigation plan invoice to Nan and Mary. This is something we do every, 4 years. It's a 5-year plan. Usually it goes out to bid all through different regions of the state. This time the state did it for rewrite of the mitigation plan, which is a requirement of FEMA. That we have that. Usually our invoice is around 10 to 15,000, I think in the past 12 years or so. If we go out to bid on our own, the state did a complete bid and was able to get our portion for the county. It was $4,493.25, so quite a bit lower. That's good. That mitigation plan opens up tons of grant opportunities. I know a lot of departments and cities are taking advantage of that in the last few years. So that has really paid off. But again, it is a requirement of FEMA that we have that plan. So that has been passed on, and the state will begin work on that very soon. So we'll see those getting together and working on that plan, those meetings. If you kind of remember 4.5 years ago that we got together and we being any of the cities, any extra departments and the county get together and work on that plan to make sure it fits our needs. Let's see here. And then I guess other than that, obviously our COVID cases are skyrocketing right now. Our numbers are in the long-term care, the schools and the hospital are surpassing what we saw in the late winter this year, earlier in the year. And so we're really working hard on that. I know everybody's wore out from, especially the healthcare side. Just wore out, and the schools are obviously wore out too. It's a lot. It takes a lot to try to figure out your schedules and with people in and out as far as workers go. And then the governor will be on at 11 today. So if anybody wants to get on and listen to what she has to say. Other than that, I think that's it.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the update.
I wanted to report that our CARES funding request is complete and headed in for payment. They wanted it this week, actually last week. It was due the 16th, but we have that completed. Working on the FEMA for COVID and the FEMA for the derecho. I'm thinking we will probably be closing the FEMA for COVID due to the CARES funding. And we had a meeting with them last week, and we just couldn't pinpoint any advantage or any way to get any funding because everything that CARES is covering. So we wanted to look at that a little bit further when we could focus on it just a bit more and before we made that final decision. But that's all progressing nicely. Thursday, we've got our next meeting for the derecho, and that's a really big project because it just involves even more departments than we had when it was the tornado. So it makes it way more complicated than the tornado.
All right. Lucas, is there anything you can share with us on the annex?
What would you like to know?
Courthouse. Is there any movement in the annex, first of all?
Yes, there's a lot of movement in the annex at this point. We have a lot of the demo done. The basement of the annex should be moving along really fast here in the next couple of weeks. We have, I think, almost all of the support structure ready to go. in the basement. So they'll be demoing out the rest of the concrete and lowering the floor level. On the second floor and the first floor, the walls have been stripped down to next to nothing, basically just studs through the whole thing. So that's moving along nicely. We did get our interior package pretty well set. We're still waiting on our mediation for code items, but the storm portion of the storm package for the tornado was sent to EMC yesterday for their approval. So we are hoping to hear back from them pretty quickly. Usually once they get it, it's a fairly fast turnaround. So
The courthouse, has there been any contractors? Have they chosen contractors?
we have apparent low contractors. Once we get some more approvals from EMC, we will be able to write subcontracts and turn that work loose.
We settled on the dollar amount for the county shop. Have we received that funding from EMC yet?
We have not.
We have not. The last we heard on that was there was some paperwork that they needed to send over to have us sign, and we haven't seen that yet.
We'll be happy to sign it really quick.
I think so as well, yeah. So as far as start date for the interior of the courthouse, we don't know yet. It's probably going to take 15 to 30 days to get all the subcontracts written and work assigned. So once we know more, we'll update.
Okay.
We just got that news yesterday afternoon, so.
And our EMC mediation is still on the 23rd
23rd at 10 a.m. Yep.
in Des Moines.
No, here.
Here,
Right here.
okay.
All right.
November.
Yes.
November 23rd. It's a Monday,
It's
the Monday of Thanksgiving week.
Okay.
a week from yesterday.
Yeah, that whole week will be maybe perhaps Thanksgiving.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Yes.
Could
Yes,
be.
2 weeks. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I have nothing. Dave? you
No,
have
sir.
anything?
I'm done.
All right. The next regular session is November 24th, 2020 at 9:05 a.m. All business to be acted upon at that session should be submitted to the county auditor, recorder's office, or the board of supervisors office by Thursday, November 19th, 2020 at 1:00 p.m. There being no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 10:01 a.m.